Yeah, Ritin, actually, because today is Sunday, probably students are not joining that much, so we are waiting actually.
Yeah, okay. Let me know when to start.
So just now I called HOD sir, sir said you can start at 11:15, but we'll see around at least 30 students have joined. Then we can start.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Please.
Yeah, Nitin. So we shall start. Meanwhile, the students will be joining.
Yeah, okay.
We can conclude at around 12:10, so that the meeting session will be right. So, as introduced to the students, then you can take over.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning, dear students. Today I'm going to introduce you Mr. Ritin Reddy Marra, who is a full stack data scientist experienced in implementing and deploying scaling technologies around AI, NLP, speech synthesis and recognition. And he's actually an alumni from IIT Madras, and he is actually working as a machine engineer level 3 currently with Phenom Technologies. And today he is going to give us a session about problem solving and ideation workshop. So, how to actually analyze a problem, how to proceed to solve it, and regarding these things, he is going to give you a session. So, better to listen in a proper manner so that it will be improving your logical skills a bit rather than what you have in the class. Over to you, Within.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Hi guys, this is Lithin here. So today I will be talking about problem solving. So which is a very broad subject in itself because the way you approach a problem. Yeah. So problem solving in itself is very broad. We probably are introduced to problem solving in our mathematics class one, two. It's all solving the problem in a way it covers the as many cases as possible. No problem is absolutely solved. You can always resolve a problem in a different way, in a different setup. So problems are everywhere. That's also true. So all that matters is how well we can solve the problem in a way that it covers as many cases as possible. So I will keep this session more interactive. So because there is no proper way of solving any problem, as I was saying. So feel free to interrupt me, or we can take questions towards the end of the session. What I will keep a focused discussion today will be the problems that I have solved in a professional setup after my graduation and working with companies. So you can take some lessons from there or get some inspiration and try applying it at other cases. So it's not straightforward how a solution at one place can be forwarded to other setup, but it can serve as some motivation or some inspiration at times. So let me start sharing my screen. So I have made it more instead of a presentation. It's a bunch of web pages and how we have solved a specific problem. And one of the other reason is like I am not I I cannot be sharing a lot of public private intellectual property of the company. So I am keeping every knowledge shared here as the available public ones. So which you can also go back and read. That helps. So I work for a company now called Phenom People, which is into human resources, which is HR departments of companies. So human resources essentially deals with making the lives of employees or prospective employees, that is the candidates, applicants who want jobs in the company, life better. So that's their end goal. Uh, Keep them happy, attend to their grievances and things like that. So the company is all around making the talent experience better. So there is one for candidate experience, that is if a prospective employee of the future, how his interview experience can be made better, how can employee experience can be made better. Recruiters, these are the folks who organize the interviews, uh, answer any questions about the job and things like that. The problem statement I work in this space, recruiter experience, and a specific aspect of the recruiter experience. Managers experience, HR enterprise, and these are the leadership folks. As a whole, every company has HR department, and these are the different personas that go into a company. So how can a platform like us improve their day-to-day activities is the thing. So as a candidate, at times we don't know much about the company, what their salary is, what their work culture is, what their work timings are, things like that. So we have products like chatbot, resume screening, FAQ. I mean, frequent asked questions are automated. Things like that go into candidate experience. I will not go into all of this, but just to give an example, this might be more relevant to you folks. So the one which I'm working on is recruiter experience. As I said, specifically inside recruiter experience, I work for something called interview scheduling. So scheduling is a very broad problem in itself. So we find scheduling everywhere, be it your classes which are scheduled throughout the day, which are predefined. So there is not much of a hassle there. But there can be cases when a particular professor is not available. How can you replace the session with a equivalent one who is also available at the same time? So there are again those cases. So these are all the problems that you can see in your daily life. So look at any process, if it can be optimized in a way better and also scalable. So the solution should also be scalable, or else you can only serve a limited population. Other places where scheduling comes in our daily life is booking your restaurant or salon. At any place, it's always we making an appointment, calling a person on the other side, checking if there is availability at that exact time. This is not a scalable problem because you always need a human available at that time of you calling and attending the call and checking it always. So you can't make a booking at 12 o'clock in the night because no one's going to be available at the salon to book your slot. So there is scope for improvement. So the problem in itself existed all along, but there are people who find ways to solve it by appointing a person just as a receptionist, just taking a call. Can technology make it better in improving this whole process? Because there are issues with this approach also. The person needs to be available 24 by 7, which is not possible. Person needs to be paid. So can there be a software solution which can cost less for the salon or the company itself? This is everywhere. So there are companies who have solved it on the solved as in it's never solved, but there are few good players like Calendly, which is a $3 billion company. So that is like 2,500 crores in Indian rupees. So just by solving that problem of how can two people come together and sit together, basically both are free at that available time, is the problem statement that they are trying to solve. That's similar where we started around the same time, but our target audience is different. We work in the recruiting space where they had started out on a B2C front, that is business directly to the consumer space, salons, teachers, sales folks. For example, this is a very common thing that companies arrange demos with prospective clients and share their product demos. So for that to happen, also you need a common agreed time, right? So there again, this is a common issue. So I hope this helps you realize how broad this problem is. So this is the we will then go on to see how we can solve it in different ways. In the recruiting space, it's a bit different because in a recruiting space, you can commonly see it in interview scheduling. That means you need an interviewer or a multiple interviewers, not always one interviewer who will be taking the interview for the candidate. It can be a bunch of interviewers at the same time, panel. It could be back-to-back interviews. When you go to a on-site round to a company, you typically have multiple interviews, one after other. So to make a candidate experience better, it's better that we schedule in one interview after another, but if at all a small break in between, but not make the candidate sit throughout the whole day. Like ask the candidate to come at 9 o'clock. This is how few companies do who haven't solved this problem correctly. So they call the candidate to the campus. They wait from 9. Whenever the interviewer is available, they just ask for a talk. So the candidate is left unattended or is not made good use of his time throughout the day. They might have an interview at 9 to 10 and made to pass till afternoon, take another round from 2 to 3, then again at night 6 to 7. So that's not a good experience, and candidates who don't get a good experience in the first phase tend to go away from the job or look for a different job. So that's why this is super critical for companies to give a good impression to the candidates so their conversion is better. So that saves a lot of money, because recruiting is typically throughout the year. So even though a sales call or a salon booking is something that from our side as a consumer side, when you look at it, it's a one-off item that you go to salon twice a week, make a restaurant booking once a week. But from a company or a restaurant point of view, that's their day-to-day activities. It happens throughout the year, every day, be it night, weekend, anything. So it makes a lot of difference for them if there is a solution which improves the process a lot. So specifically, the one I'm working for last 3 years is making this process of interview scheduling better. So the candidates can uh, know when exactly their interview is, how it is planned throughout the day, like 9 to 10, 10 to 11, a break after for half an hour, and 11:30 to 12:30. So a kind of itinerary is basically given to the candidates so they can plan their day better, giving them a better experience and also a good impression on the company. So, and from the company point of view, the interviewers are made are notified much in advance, so they can plan their day better. So they need not have to cancel their existing meeting or a important discussion with their colleagues. Canceling that and coming and taking a candidate is also not a good experience for the interviewers. So we went on this problem of making this interview coordination as efficient as it can be, with little back and forth. This is a problem that most people in the recruiting space already encounter, because interviewers complain, candidates complain about rescheduling and things like that. So I'll go on to the solution aspect of it. How can we solve this problem? If you take a pause and see, uh, all we are, all that is needed is make two parties who both agreed to meet at a particular time. You can also relate it as two friends who want to go out on a movie or someplace. You are sure to go out, but you don't know when and where you need to meet. So it's just so all you need to see is the overlap between your available times is the possible set of times you can choose from. So all the system to efficiently come up with those times, all we need to know is their calendars. Luckily, even though on a day-to-day basis we don't have our calendars as a reflective of your activities, but in a professional setup it is mostly that way. So we always have our meeting schedule upfront. We don't get ad hoc meetings that often. So our calendars are a good proxy to our availability in a particular day. So because of that being available, we went on to see how we can pull the calendars of the employees in the company so as to know their availability. So that can be facilitated by Google calendars, or so all companies follow a suite of email clients. For example, Google Suite comes with Google Calendar. So my calendar events are all booked on this Google Calendar. This may look as improbable to you guys, but if once you come into a professional setup, you will find that you always have your calendars organized well. So all we have to do is pull these calendar events using Google API. So this is how we solve a problem in a real world. So all along I was trying to show you just the framing of the problem. But technologically, as the things that you learn in your courses or all along, the computer science aspects can help you solve this problem because Google already gave you this API. So you need to go to their Google Docs, developer Google documentation, find the right API that if you call, you will know a individual's calendar. So this is the particular API that we look for because we really don't need to know the exact at details of the event. All we need to know is if a particular person is busy at that time or not. So free busy means exactly that. We will only know 0 or 1. That means say at 10 to 10:15, is this interviewer, is this person free or not on the calendar. We don't need to know if it is a 1. That means there's an event. We don't need to know the particulars of the event, what the event title is, who are the attendees of that event. All is not needed. All we need to know is whether they are free or not. So this helps us in putting a good adoption because of the security aspects. You companies tend to not share personal details with other companies, right? Whereas making this as a free busy, it's easier for us to convince companies that we do not know much about your organization. All we know is free or busy. So security is super important in cases like this. So that is also because there are other APIs through which you will know the exact event details also. But as you want to solve the problem at scale, that means more customers need to adapt to your solution. You need to look through these security aspects also. So because Google Office 65, Exchange, Apple Calendar, all these have a version of FreeBusy. So we are good with our security compliance, and we only fetch their busyness on the calendar. So after we do that, uh, there can be panel of interviewers also. So at a particular time, we need 3 interviewers to take an interview for a candidate. So we need to mutually take an intersection of these busy times. So the response of this will be like a matrix. So on a given day, so this query takes in the API of this, takes in parameters like if you see at the request body, it will know the time min, time max. That means in what range are we looking for on the interviewer's calendar. So fetch me the freebie of interviewer X from in the next week. That is December 5th to December 9th. That's what this parameter is. And the time zone in which you want the response out. The output is just a matrix on each day showing 0 or 1 for every 5-minute interval. So throughout the day we know when they are busy, so you can look it as a very sparse matrix. So it starts with 0 0 0. If there is event which says 1 1 1 0 0 0 1 1 1, so that's how the matrix construction would be, and we will do this for every interviewer. So we know how their days are. If we need all the 3 interviewers for a particular session, we just take intersection across individual interviewers. So we know when the times in the day when all 3 of them are available. So that's a good information for us to have. So the same can be shared with the candidate because we do not know the candidate's availability. Candidate is a person who's outside the organization. We cannot pull their calendars. All we can do is pull the information. So we have a integration setup and all, so through which we can pull all employees calendar but not candidates. So how do we know the candidates availability may be your next follow-up question. So to give you some visual flavor to what all I was talking all along is this company called cal.com. This is an open source alternative which has come up quite recently, less than a year ago. uh, Given there is a huge scope for this problem, there are a lot of open source projects which you, me, anyone can submit and push it to GitHub. This is one of that project. You can check out their GitHub code and all. These people do it on the B2C space, like I was saying before, like sales folks or saloon case. So here they need to connect the calendar, which we do to on an enterprise scale. After which It can be Google Calendar, like I said, Apple Calendar, anything. We know the availability times. So the candidate will get something like this. Following back on the example, where we need three interviewers for an interview. We found out there on a week of this 5th to 9th, we know their common available times. So we send a unique link to the candidate, asking the candidate to choose their uh, chosen slot. So just by sending this link, you can something of this sort. So I'm giving an example of cal.com, but we internally have implemented a link like this. So the candidates will get a link saying they have selected for this interview at this XYZ company, and we would like to talk more about your expertise. So please choose a available slot from the link and get the interview booked on their own. So seeing that candidate can open this link, they just need to browse through the available dates. So on Monday, tomorrow, the interview is available from 3, 3:10, 3:20, things like that, depending on the duration of the interview. So all it takes for the candidate is look through their availability when they are available, and if on Wednesday, December 3:30, they can just book this. This is not relevant for scheduling, but just clicking on confirm will make the interview done. So there is no hassle of giving only specific dates. What happens today in the market is recruiters, as I was saying before, who coordinate interviews, get the necessary details of the candidates. They call the candidate on phone, ask them for their availability on the go. So there's very little scope to even think about it. So you are on a call with your recruiter, think of this case. So someone calls you from a company and asks your availability and says, are you available on Monday? You are not sure what your plans for the day is, and there are very, instead of giving so many possibilities throughout the day, even though they exist, the recruiter can only come up with few. So they will ask you for your availability on afternoon, doesn't often say what exact time it is also. So that's how the industry currently has it. So with our solution, the experience is automated to a large extent, because the recruiter doesn't, as a person, doesn't need to call so many candidates day in day out and waste so much resource there. All these employees throughout the day does only this from a company side. So it's a very mundane job which can be easily automated by something of this sort. Think of large organizations like TCS, Infosys, Apple, IBM. So they have thousands of recruiters who do this day in, day out. They get requirements of a job, they call the candidates, check their availability, book an interview. That's all they do. Think of the human resources or the brain power that is being misutilized just to do this mundane task every day. That's where our clients find it helpful, not just in an improvement in the experience point of view, but also making better use of their recruiters and scaling better. So yeah, coming back, the problem in itself is not solved here, because you may have booked on say 8th of December, say 2:30 p.m. and after clicking on confirm, the interviewers will what our assistant will do is will send a invite to the candidate saying their interview has been booked for Thursday 2:30 p.m. We also, so if there is an, if the interview were to happen online, we also generate the appropriate meeting link, be it Zoom, Google Meet, Blue Jeans, uh, so on, Microsoft Teams. So there are a lot of interviewing tools where candidate and interviewer both join and take the interview. Right? Not all interviews are on site. That means you go to the company office and take the in-person interviews. After COVID, the number of online interviews have actually gone a lot more. Things are happening online. So recruiters, in a manual task, you can also see that generating a link each time, unique link, and making it accessible for the interviewers is also a tedious step in between. So all this is added up to the manual task. Whereas having an automated system, we are able to generate a link, share the same with the candidate uniquely, and also with the interviewers. So all of them can just get together on this time 2:30 and make the interview happen. So this is how we have solved the problem for candidates and interviewers without involving recruiter. So the recruiters are taken away from this job, so they can better concentrate on more creative work in the day. But in a that say happy path case, we you may assume that after your interview is booked for Thursday 3:30 p.m. we are good, everyone might join. But a lot often what happens is the interviewer may get busy on that day. So even though their calendar on 9th 3:30 looks free today, by that say on Thursday morning they get a super urgent call, and they may not be able to make up to this 3:30 p.m. interview. So last minute interview declines happen a lot. The same can happen on the candidate front. The candidate may fall sick on the day before this and may want to reschedule this interview. Again, to make this interview reschedule happen, a lot often the recruiters need the candidate needs to call the recruiter, explain all the situation, and check with the next alternative time. That's again a huge human resource going waste, and delays happen because of that. This is where we have an AI solution where the candidate will just have to email the assistant. I mean, as I said, we send the candidate the meeting details, including the meeting link and the confirmation of this date and time, right? So to that same email, the candidate will just reply by saying, I'm not available at this time. Can we please reschedule? So that's a natural language email that the assistant gets back. So you can think of it as just like a chatbot conversation where the candidate just replies back saying that I want to reschedule. Right. So at that point, again, we have our NLP engine which understands the intents of asking for reschedule, or there are other queries that the candidate might have, like what their job location is, what their salary structure is, things like that. So there are many possibilities, but the specific thing that we are talking about is reschedule intent. So candidate wants to reschedule the interview. Again, that's the intent part, if you are familiar with that. Also, there are entities that we might need to extract from the email. So candidate asks for reschedule, but also gives a preferred date. Say they have this interview scheduled for Thursday, right? In our example, they say, I'm not well today. Can we have the interview on Friday? So our AI algorithm will extract both the intent being rescheduled and the preferred date for the reschedule is on Friday from the email. So we go back again. So given the candidate wants to interview on Friday, this time when we call the Google API for free busy, we fetch only the available dates for the interviewers on Friday. So we fetch the calendars for all the three interviewers, take their intersection, and give back the candidate only the slots on Friday, which are free for all the three interviewers. Before we had given all the dates from 4th to 9th, right? This time we'll give only the slots on 9th because that's what candidate asked for, and show the slots here which are available on all the three interviewers calendar. So it's as simple as again rescheduling and choosing a different time this time, say 4 p.m. and clicking confirm. Again, at this point, we'll go back and we'll give the meeting link and also the updated details of the interview date, that is 4th and 3 p.m. So this is how it's a very simple reschedule, even from a candidate perspective. It can happen. Our assistant is available all the time, so it is very fast in responding and all. So the experience is better. So that's where even newer technologies like ML and all helps us make a solution complete. Think of a case where a problem can be solved only in the happy path, that is you assume that the candidates are not going to reschedule and interviewers are not going to decline their invites. That's one level of solving the problem. If you want to make more use cases available, you need to think in what are the other ways of what other technology can aid us in making this happen. So, knowing the APIs, we were able to get these details and all. uh, Solving the natural language text. It's a typical text classification and NER task. It's just that in a real world, it's not given to you that it's that way. So you need to frame a given problem in the theory that you learn in your classes and try solving it. Similarly, many other, not just reschedule, as I was saying sometime back, we get a lot of queries from candidate like uh, canceling, like they may want to not attend the interview at all. They may have got some other job, so they opt out of the process. Uh, they get queries around when the interview or any interview preparation guidance, things like that. After the interview is over, they ask for the results and all. So all this we have slowly started. So at any phase of problem solving, don't look at the big problem and evade from it. Solve one by one. So initially, in the first 1 year or so, all we could solve is just the Happy Path case where we integrated with a lot of these email calendars, Google, Microsoft, and all. Thereafter, we kept building on top of it by to cover more cases, case by case. So we have become, and over time we have become a lot mature in our handling also. So there are times when the interview panel is set up in a way that there are three interviewers and only two of them are required. So it's the same skill set that all these people have. So any of those two interviewers, like there are 10 members in a team, all of them are of equal level, and any two of them are needed for the interview. So we fetch all the 10 interviewers calendar, but selectively choose only two of them based on their availability, load balancing, and things like that. So we kept building on top of it. This might feel a lot of jargon to you, but this is relevant even in the okay. So lot of times to solve a problem, you need to understand the problem in its entirety. In our day-to-day life, we will only get introduced to the problems that we face or our surroundings we see. Uh, like this restaurant case, a salon, such examples. But in a industries which you are never exposed to, you wouldn't know even those problems. So the more the exposure that you can possibly get by exploring different career paths or talking to people from diverse backgrounds, you can broaden your uh, area of knowledge, and you can find problems in multiple places. So looking for the right problem, understanding the problem is super important before even trying to start it. So that should be encouraged, because this space, like interview scheduling as such, the problem existed for a long time, but we are one of the first folks who try to keep that on a recruiting end, because the market is big enough for us to go in this direction, because every customer, every company in the world has HR departments, every company in the world has recruiters who keep doing this. So what if we can automate it and save their money, scale, give better experience, and all the finance also made sense. That's how, so it's important that you explore more regions, more areas of fields, so you can find problems, and given your theory knowledge or experience working on different projects in the past, you can better identify a solution. Yeah, so that's one of the problem that we have solved in our case. You can see this cal.com or calendly, which are very very big companies. You might think they are just to give you that example of how big or ubiquitous this problem is. Calendly is a $3 billion company. So just they solve only the single problem of scheduling meetings between two people. Say you and your friend, or a client and a sales guy, trying to meet at a given time, they facilitate it, and that's a $3 billion revenue company. Yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions, I can explain you the specifics of it. If you want.
Dear students, if there are any queries, you can ask Ritin now.
Yeah, even when a problem is not given to you, so it all happens throughout your life experience, right? So instead of looking for a problem to be solved, get the necessary skills on a day-to-day basis, so that in the future when you encounter a problem that you think is possible, you also need to have the necessary skill set to solve the problem, right? So you cannot always brood over not identifying a really good idea that or a really good problem of your own. There are millions of problems in the world. It's just that they don't have a perfect solution or depth of understanding. So you will encounter them in the future also. So don't brood over ideas. In the meantime, you can always work on improving your skill set, reading more, understanding more technologies, and all. Programming language. So yeah, it might sound like that it's important that you go on particular stack or languages, but it's all languages are almost the same nowadays. So okay, so for example, if you want to integrate with Google Calendar, the only thing you need to look for is what does Google Calendar support, which language do it support, Go, Java, .NET, or Python, Ruby. So as long as you are in this subset, and you also check the same for Microsoft calendar, that is Outlook. So Outlook calendar API, if you see what are the languages that they support, if you need to look for this common languages set, but there is no superiority of one over another. For example, cal.com, I think if you go to, it's an open source project, so that's why I've taken cal.com as example. There are many, Calendly is a closed one. This is written in TypeScript mainly. But under the hood, when they integrate, when they call their these APIs, right? You can see there's no TypeScript here. So they use, I think, Node.js or something. If you see through there, so don't get super fussed about what language it is. The core should be problem solving. And the languages are all translatable. So whatever you can do in mostly in JavaScript can also be done in Python, in Go, Ruby, things like that. We haven't forked from open source because this has come up very recently. Our project we have started 3 years ago, so uh, this has come up quite recently, 17 months ago. It's probably the first commit. Yeah, so as I was saying, keep getting more technical expertise into different concepts, how you can better scale or how you can better integrate with these APIs. How do you handle failures? So over time, what we have discovered is this API might not work at times. They have their own limitations. How can you go around it? All this max time. You need to understand each aspect of this API documentation so well that you can design your things accordingly. So every API, external API, will have their own limitations. You cannot have million calls a million API requests done in a single second. You need to pipeline them, do this plumbing better, the data pipeline as such, to make sure your services don't go down. These are the problems that you commit scale. So instead of, we had to learn it the hard way because we are a very young team and we didn't know these cases upfront. So had I known these cases upfront, we could have, we had version 1, version 2, version 3 coming up, because we learned mistakes. So we refactored our code, wrote everything from bottom up again in a V2 of it, then again in the V3. So it's a constant learning process, but the more you know the theory, the better you can design better. So don't think your theory will go waste. You need to be open enough to find its application in the real world problem solving. Yeah, a lot of your computer science of them will come at use when you go on this niche problem statement. So
So, any other queries, guys? You can type in the chat box as well.
yeah, Node.js.
So, I guess no other queries written.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ritin, for giving us an information, even though that is a bit confidential. You're providing through the screenshots and all that. So, hope our students have learned a bit from this particular session. And our main thing is how to solve a particular particular problem, and how to think in that way. So, that's what we thought to give to the students. And I think the purpose is exactly served. And thank you very much for your presentation once more. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.